live and direct from the Golden State. It's intelligent talk media, the Denice Gary Show. Now, here's Denice Gary.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is just a privilege to be with you again today, this Tuesday. I want to tell you about a very special guest I have with me on the phone today. His name is Mitch Silberman, and I'm just honored to have him on the broadcast. This is a man that's been involved in Republican politics for many, many years. He is one of two co-founders here in California of the Jewish Republican Alliance. He's very involved in working to unite and energize conservatives on behalf of the United States and Israel. I wanted to give you a little bit of background about Mitch Silberman. He is a member of a group of Hollywood conservatives. He was a successful child actor and appeared in many movies. Movies such as Bewitched, Gunsmoke, FBI, The Mod Squad, different movies. In fact, I looked on Google Images to see him as a child, and Mitch, I saw your photo images there on Google, and I do remember seeing you there acting, and I remember thinking when I saw you in different programs, what a sweet, just really what a sweet, energetic little boy you were. So,
Very sweet of you, Denise. Thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, check it out. Mitch Silberman. So now today he's the president and CEO of Silberman Wealth Strategies, Inc. He is a fee-based registered investment advisor. He's been involved in his financial services career dating back to 1986. And we're just thrilled as the co-founder of the Jewish Republican Alliance here in the Golden State to have him on the broadcast today. Mitch, would you like me to, is it okay to call you Mitch, or should I refer?
Of course.
Oh, okay.
We're friends.
Okay. Mitch, I want you to tell the audience just who the Jewish Republican Alliance is and what are you working on? What are you doing here in California?
So honored to be on your show, Denise. I appreciate all the work you do on behalf of America. We need you now more than ever.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate
March
that.
March 2016, 18 of us met in a back office, or a back room rather, of a nondescript restaurant in Agoura Hills, California. And we ran around the table and we shared horror stories of how fun it was to be a Jewish Republican in the People's Republic of California. And it's sad to tell you that we felt we had to keep our views to ourselves, and it just felt very cathartic to come out of the closet, as it were, to share what it was like being a Jewish conservative in this state. And we met, and it was enjoyable. We said, should we meet again? We said, sure. And then quickly over the months, it went from 18 to 30 to 40 to 60, and then I realized we seemed to have tapped into something. And really the Jewish Republican Alliance exists to unite and energize conservatives to take positive action on behalf of America and Israel. Okay. And one of the blessings of this nonprofit is we get to meet fellow conservative warriors like yourself, Denise, and we're all in the same playing field fighting for the same side, and America needs our help now more than ever. And one of the nice things I'll share with you is that the Jewish Republican Alliance is for anyone who shares our values. And by that I mean we have so many people in our organization that are not Jewish, and we love that because they share our values.
So how can I become a member?
Oh, very easy. You go to www.jewishrepublicanalliance.org and check it out.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to put that up on the screen for all of you. If you would like to become a member of the Jewish Republican Alliance, go to their website, www.jewishrepublicanalliance.org, and you can become a member there.
Yes.
Excellent.
And one of the other things that I'll share with you that's been so encouraging is we have three major pillars from the very beginning. The first is a fellowship, meaning you're not alone.
Okay.
And the second is education. We serve as a platform for conservatives, authors, and organizations and people so that others can learn about the important work that they do. And thirdly is networking. So it's been fellowship, education, and networking. And the example I give is we all know the famous story of the Christian baker, I believe in Colorado, that was put out of business because of his religious beliefs. And many of the people on the left seem to want to destroy those they disagree with. So one of our pillars is networking, which is instead of destroying those we disagree with, let's go out of our way to share and do business with those that share our values. So it's been a really nice thing that we're a positive organization. And what's been wonderful about it is I cannot tell you how many times people will come up to me after an event and they'll say, I really enjoyed this meeting, this gathering, this get-together, and I'm a Democrat. And I said, that's fantastic. You are more than welcome here. Anyone that shares our values, Jewish, not Jewish, Democrat, Republican, it doesn't matter. If you share our values, you want to take action on behalf of America and Israel, you have a home with the Jewish Republican Alliance.
We're talking about conservative, Judeo-Christian values that were set forth in the Torah, which Christians call the Old Testament. But of course, the Jewish people, of course, were an inspiration to the world because the Jewish people introduced people to monotheism. Without the Jewish people, there would not be monotheism in the earth realm, and they introduced us through the Holy Scriptures to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And they certainly were leaders in terms of informing the thinking of America's founding fathers. And instructing them in embracing men as equals and loving God and loving our neighbors as ourselves. These basic principles of independence and freedom and equality, all of these values are part of the Torah or the Christian Bible that were brought to us by the Jewish people, inspired words from God. And we so appreciate, because without the Jewish people, we would not have the civilization, the Judeo-Christian civilization that we have today. And it continues to inform our republic and our democratic values. And I personally want to thank the Jewish people for their continued contributions, their breakthroughs in every field and endeavor to bring to the world the kinds of things that have made life better for centuries. And thank you so much, Mitch. Let's talk about the Democratic Party. I'd like you. I'm kind of going to set it up for the audience, and then I'm going to ask you for your thoughts. So,
wonderful.
I'm thinking about how the Democrats over the last several years have been becoming more and more radicalized to the left. I think about 2008, the elections in 2008, where people knew that Barack Hussein Obama was fairly anti-Israel. I don't care what talking point you want to throw at me, the man was running with people that were truly anti-Semitic. He was going to a church where the minister was anti-Semitic. He went to events with Louis Farrakhan. And today, increasingly, we see more and more Democrats. I'm thinking about the two Democrats from Minnesota, Keith Ellison, Ilhan Omar, the Democrat freshman. Now they're on the House Foreign Affairs Committee that insulted, really attacked a Jewish American, Elliot Abrams, who had worked for the Reagan and Bush administrations and is now the envoy to Venezuela. I'm thinking about Andre Carson from Indiana, thinking about Rashida Tlaib, who stood and had her picture taken over and over again with the Hezbollah, the Party of God, a terrorist organization, here in America, taking pictures with a Hezbollah supporter. I think about, going back to Miss Omar, I think about the fact that she has also standing with Farrakhan. All these Democrats are standing with Farrakhan. And they're not exactly apologizing for standing with people like members of the Hezbollah, like Louis Farrakhan, the leader of the Nation of Islam, and other individuals that are anti-Semitic. As the co-founder of the Jewish Republican Coalition, Jewish Republican Alliance, what do you think? What do your members think about and say when they look at, for example, Representative Omar or Representative Tlaib, new individuals that have been elected to Congress this last year?
Well, you summarized it quite well, Denise. It's very troubling. Today's Democratic Party is not our parents' Democratic Party.
No.
And you are correct. They have shifted so far to the left. Many of the things that are becoming mainstream in that party today would not even have been thinkable even during the Clinton administration. So it's sad, but there's an old saying, if you don't believe in God, you don't believe in nothing, you'll believe in anything. And the party today has gotten so far left that many in the Jewish faith sadly have given up Judaism for leftism. And leftism has a well-documented history of being hostile to many people, and especially the Jewish people. So when you look at the representatives, you see that this woman was a Somali immigrant who greatly benefited from American generosity.
Yes.
Now, she made some anti-Semitic tweets and comments, and I have to give credit to the Democratic Party. They did call her out and insist on an apology. I called it a non-apology apology.
They slow-walked it. Mitch, they slow-walked it. Nancy Pelosi, the majority leader, slow-walked that.
Yes, she sure did.
Yeah.
But where were the repercussions?
Right.
I remember Representative Steve King said something a few weeks or months ago that many did not call for or did not care for, and he was immediately taken off of committees. Where is her repercussion? Where is her punishment? As far as I know, there has been none.
So let me ask
she's
you
on the House Foreign Affairs Committee, which is a very dangerous place for an anti-Semitic person to be.
Right. She supports BDS, the boycott, divestment, and sanctions of the State of Israel. Ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who are not familiar with BDS and this movement, the Muslim Arabs and some Christian Arabs and other individuals here in the United States on the left, Democrats, are supporting this movement. They would not vote to condemn it this year. I don't know if you're aware of that, Mitch.
Yes.
But they wouldn't. The Democrats held up a vote. The Republicans had put out a piece of legislation. Excuse me, I believe it was a resolution, but it wound up turning into legislation. The Republicans put it out there, and the Democrats refused to give an up or down vote on it. And it was to condemn BDS and make it illegal. Ladies and gentlemen, again, BDS, for those of you who do not know, says that any product, any company that's involved in working in Judea and Samaria, these are areas that became subject to dispute after the 1967 war. Israel fought a war for independence in 1948. The Arabs, the Muslim nations, attacked Israel in 48. They wound up taking Judea and Samaria, what the media calls the West Bank, but it's Judea and Samaria. And these are historically part of the Jewish nation, the homeland. It's talked about over and over and over again in the Holy Scriptures. And again, Judea and Samaria is disputed, but the people on the left, people like Representative Tlaib, people like Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar, Keith Ellison and Andre Carson, and other Democrats, people on the left, they want to boycott. They want companies to divest their capital investments in Israeli companies that are involved in buying products or doing business or have businesses in Judea and Samaria. They want to sanction Israel and these companies. Mitch, let me ask you a question. Is the Jewish Republican Alliance doing anything? I mean, I know on my broadcast, I put up the numbers. In fact, I'm going to do it right now. Robert, would you put up the numbers for Speaker Pelosi and the leader, Steny Hoyer? So Mitch, does your organization, do they do any calling campaigns? Do you send out a word to say, let's all call, let's make our voices heard, let's insist that Ms. Omar be censured from the House and be removed from the House Foreign Relations Committee? Are you working on things of that nature?
In a different way. We are a 501c3 nonprofit, and I like to joke that since Lois Lerner's gone from the IRS, we were able to get that status. It's a hard-achieved status.
It is.
So we have to be very careful about what we do. We want to stay in full compliance with the laws as a 501c3 nonprofit organization. What we have found is there are so many Americans that feel very frustrated and upset by what they see happening before their very eyes. So what the JRA has been able to do is to mobilize people, to give them a voice and encourage them to take action, which is up to them.
And
so as an organization, we have to, of course, comply and stay within the rules of the 501c3, but individuals on their own, and we encourage them, whether it's writing a letter to the editor, contacting their representatives, running for office, supporting those running for office. There's so much action that can be taken by an average American who feels very concerned about the future of this country. And Denice, I'll share one more thing with you. Here's a direct quote. When you're talking about the boycott, divest, and sanction movement, the founder of this movement, a professor of political science at the University of California, this is his quote: "The real aim of BDS is to bring down the state of Israel." Those are his words, not mine. And to further make your point, to single out one and only one Jewish state in the entire world for economic destruction is, of course, anti-Semitic.
Right. Israel, I think it's important that people put Israel within the context of just geographically speaking, the Middle East. I mean, Israel is absolutely surrounded by Muslim Arab states, and she's smaller than the state of New Jersey here in the United
Correct.
States. So she's absolutely surrounded. She's continually attacked in terms of attacked within the systems and the institutionalized racism that is found within the mosques and the schools in the Muslim Arab world. And it's incredible to me that not since President Trump have we begun to see Arab leaders begin to defend Israel when it comes to the situation of Iran. And I have to give President Trump a lot of credit for that. I don't know if you're aware of it, but at the Warsaw Summit on peace and security in the Middle East, that Vice President Pence and Secretary of State Mike Pompeo attended, Arab leaders were found talking about how Israel had a right to defend itself against Iran, considering Iran's proxy armies in Syria and Lebanon and Yemen, etc., and the terrorists that they support, like Hamas, in the Gaza Strip. And I thought that was incredible, Mitch.
It is.
And
go on. I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead.
Well, it's funny that people they love to throw anything they can at President Trump, and probably the silliest accusation is he's anti-Semitic. And I don't know what to say other than I have said to people, you're right. He is an anti-Semite, because all anti-Semites have a Jewish daughter, a Jewish son-in-law, Jewish grandchildren, and obviously by moving the embassy to Jerusalem and recognizing Jerusalem as the eternal capital of Israel, you're right, the evidence is right before me. So I kind of use humor and sarcasm in a respectful way, because it's just, even my liberal Jewish friends who deeply love Israel have admitted to me there has never, ever been a better U.S. president for Israel than President Trump.
President Trump said in his State of the Union message, and we'll play this later for you, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm quoting, by the way, from his State of the Union address, quote, "We must never ignore the vile poison of anti-Semitism. or those who spread the venomous creed. With one voice, we must confront this hatred anywhere and everywhere it occurs. Mitch, I want to give you the last word, but first, since you brought up the movement of the U.S. Embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, I want to remind everybody that again, during the 2012 what do I want to say, Mitch? During the convention, during the Democratic Convention.
Yes, the Democratic Convention. That's a great point.
Jerusalem was dropped out of the convention's platform. The Democratic Party platform, Jerusalem was dropped. It used to say, quote, "Jerusalem is and will remain the capital of Israel." It was removed. Obama went to the leadership of the Democratic Party convention, said you need to get it back in there. Of course, he needed the votes, right?
Yeah, he sure did.
He was concerned about the votes, and so this is what they said. They reinstated it and said Jerusalem is and will remain the capital of Israel. But they qualified it, and he says the capital is something that should be determined in final status negotiations between the parties. And isn't it interesting that President Trump, a Republican, took it off the table? It's no longer going to be determined in final status negotiations, as Obama has said, and as other presidents have said. I think about our first Republican president. I'm sure you've read a lot about Abraham Lincoln. It was Abraham Lincoln that heard about the genocide against Jews in Syria. And we didn't have an embassy, we didn't have a consulate, we didn't have any diplomatic mission in Syria during his presidency. But I know that he sent diplomatic envoys into Syria to speak to the Syrian leadership there about ending the brutality and the persecution of the Jewish people inside Syria. I don't know if a lot of people realize that going back to the first Republican president, the 16th president, Abraham Lincoln, the Republicans have tried to stand and be supportive of the Jewish people.
Well, now more than ever. I do not think that every Democrat, nor everyone who's an elected Democrat, is anti-Semitic. Not at all.
I don't either.
Sadly, though, the trend is moving in that direction. So that's sadly is the trend, because I think Israel always counted on bipartisan support. But now, if you're intellectually honest, support for Israel is overwhelmingly from the Republican Party and fading away from the Democratic Party.
I'll tell you who will confirm what you just said. The man that will confirm that is Director Jeff Dobby from the Zionist Organization of America, but he lives and works in Jerusalem. He goes back and forth between the parliament, or Israel's Knesset or Congress, goes back and forth from Washington, D.C. to Israel's Knesset there in Jerusalem. And he says there isn't the bipartisan, he'll just come right out and say to our audience, there isn't the bipartisan support that there used to be. And it's really, really sad. And I think, I don't know if you watched the Democrats' convention for 2016 with Hillary Clinton, but I watched it carefully, and I noticed that when the cameras began to film the audience, that you saw flags, not U.S. flags, but you saw flags that represented the Palestine Liberation Organization, a terrorist group, and you saw other flags from Islamist groups right there at the Democratic Party. And of course, we heard that any talk about Israel, they were booing any mention of support for the Jewish people. And I found that deeply disturbing. So no, it's not all Democrats, but it certainly is a mounting number of Democrats. And that bothers me deeply.
I concur. It's a very troubling movement.
I want to share one other thing, and just so you know it, as the president and co-founder of the Jewish Republican Alliance, I don't know if you're aware of it, but there's an organization called the World Council of Churches, and they have been involved in anti-Israel activities, and they're being funded by European governments and European churches. And this is also deeply disturbing, and I think it would be important for your organization. Of course, I try to follow it, but I wanted to mention this to you. Maybe you'd like to bring it up in an upcoming meeting. I'm going to show a video, at least I hope to show a video. I sent it to my producer earlier today. I'm going to be showing a video later in this broadcast, and you might want to look at it too. I think that we need to understand that the leftists, the liberal progressives, have aligned themselves with Islamists and far left-wing liberal churches in America and Europe against Israel and against the whole concept of Zionism. And you need to know it. We need to keep our eye on it, and we need to hold them accountable every time we hear anything. And I'd really appreciate it, Mitch, if you or the members of your organization, and I'm going to become a member, but anytime you see anything or hear anything that you would let me know. I want to bring it to the audience. I want them to know what's going on so that it can be fought. And I'm talking about, fighting it verbally, fighting it, through measures we can take to condemn
Not violence,
it.
not violence.
No,
and I know
no
we
violence.
say the same thing to our group.
No.
We have to, you must get people to fight for our side, and by fight I mean 100% what you just said, Denise.
Verbal.
It's with our words, with our ideas, with our actions.
Right.
Their side may resort to violence, but not our side.
We can send them letters of condemnation, and we can publicize it. And I think every time we publicize the left and its unholy alliance with Islamists, as well as those that are part of some of these liberal churches, like the World Council of Churches, and I think the better off we're going to be as a nation and as a people. And I think this is really important.
I agree. Now more than ever, conservative activism is needed. I often say that for the last 40, 50 years, what has a good American done, or a good conservative? We've raised our families, we've gotten married, and had kids in that order. We've gone to work, started a business, gone to church or temple, and really kept to ourselves and helped this country become great. And while we were doing that, the left took over academia and media and Hollywood and entertainment and sports, and we looked up and said, what happened to our country? And this happened while we weren't paying attention, because we went about our business to be just good Americans. And now, unfortunately, they've forced our hand. It's time for us to respond.
You mentioned universities real quick, and again, I'm going to give you the last word one more time. I know we got to wrap up this segment. You just mentioned universities, and I don't know if your members are aware, but I know at UCLA, right there in the Los Angeles area, members that have supported the Muslim Brotherhood, again, Hezbollah, the Palestine Liberation Organization, and other terrorist groups. This incident happened at the University of Montana. Anti-Semitic flyers accusing Jews of attacking the First Amendment were passed out throughout and across the campus. A member of the Jewish student group Hillel told the student newspaper about it. Apparently there have been a number of attacks over the past 20 years. And I was just shocked to read this. This was in the Algemeiner. It came out on February 11th of this year, if anybody would like to read it. Again, the article is entitled Anti-Semitic Flyers Accusing Jews of Attacking First Amendment, found at University of Montana. We've got to continually watch and closely monitor, I think, activities here in the Golden State. We need to know what's going on. And again, right there at UCLA, we've got Islamists working to recruit members to groups like the PLO and like Hezbollah. I had a person from Iran literally try to attach herself to me, following me everywhere I went. wanting to know exactly what I was doing at all times. But, doing so in a non-aggressive manner, but just, was a little bit unnerving. We just need to keep our eyes and ears open.
We sure do.
Okay. Mitch, any last words you want to share with the audience?
Just that if you're listening to Denice, you probably share our values. And as I said earlier, now more than ever, conservative activism is needed. However you get involved, there are so many worthwhile organizations out there that need your time, your effort, your money, your heart, your passion, because the future for our children and our grandchildren is literally at stake. And as something Denice said earlier, we must unite to defend the Judeo-Christian values upon which this great country was founded.
Yes, thank you so much, Mitch. I appreciate that. Ladies and gentlemen, www.jewishrepublicanalliance.org. Let's become a member. Let's support the Jewish people here in California and across the country and around the world. Let's stand with Israel based on the principle of Zionism, which is bottom line, for those of you who do not know, Zionism is just an embrace of the Jewish people of their original homeland, the homeland of the Jewish people that's spoken of throughout the Torah and throughout the Holy Scriptures. Again, Mitch Silberman, President and CEO, or I shouldn't say CEO, President and co-founder of the Jewish Republican Alliance. Thank you so much for coming on the broadcast today.
Thank you, Denice, and God bless.
You too. Thank you, sir. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go to a break. When we come back, so much more.
I want to tell you about a place I love to go. Frugatti's Italian Restaurant. Very few locations here provide seating outside in front of a fabulous water fountain with an atmosphere that is reminiscent to me of eating outdoors in Venice. This is real Italian food by real Italians. And what makes it even more so is owner Ralph Frugoletti, who nearly a quarter century ago brought a wood fire oven from Milan, Italy to make, like his mother, fresh homemade bread and pizzas. Moreover, Frugatti's Restaurant offers you not only the very best in Southern Italian cooking, even importing the finest ingredients for authentic Italian food, including a fitness menu. After all, Ralph has represented the United States and Italy, competing in the Master Championship Games. He knows all the right food for good fitness, so check out the menu. After today's broadcast, run over to Frugatti's Italian Restaurant and Catering at 600 Coffee Road here in Bakersfield. And after a Friday, Saturday, or Sunday service, stop into Frugatti's for a great lunch. I'll see you there, and tell Mr. Ralph Frugoletti that Denice sent you. Salute. Buon appetito.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm so thrilled I've got the owner of Sculpt 365 Fitness here with me today, Craig Jansen, Navy veteran. Craig, tell the audience out there why everybody in town needs to come up over here and join.
Well, Sculpt 365 is a 24-hour club, so we never close, unlike a lot of other clubs here in town. Additionally, our club is always super clean, and one of the things that you're going to find here is a different environment where we strive to give you a VIP experience here. So we want to get to know you, we want to know your story, we want to know about you and how we can help you succeed and meet all of your fitness goals.
Wonderful. Ladies and gentlemen, come on down to Sculpt 365 Fitness. You're located right here on Brim Hall. Tell us your other location.
We have another location up in Tehachapi. And then our third location here in town is also located over on Chester and Columbus in the Food Mac Shopping Center.
Thank you so much, Craig. You have a wonderful day.
You too. Thank you.
I am a soldier and I'm marching on. I am a warrior and this is my song. My eyes are steel and my gaze is long. I am a warrior and this is my song.
I wanted to get out the phone number for all of you for Sculpt 365 Fitness. They're on Brim Hall at Callaway. The number is 661 679 7116. 679 7116. Ladies and gentlemen, this is such a great place. First of all, the owner is a Navy veteran, Craig Jansen. He will help you. He'll walk through routines. He'll do everything he can to help make it a successful experience for you. Also, I want you to know, February, 0%, $0, nada on enrollment fees. Half price on the first month's dues. Half price. 0 enrollment, 0 down, half on the first month's dues. Sculpt 365, they're on Brimhall. There's so much going on there, and it's just fabulous. Please give him his business. Give him your business. I want to go to President Trump. I wanted you to hear him personally speak to the issue of anti-Semitism. He talks about the racism inside Iran and how the regime has the people chant death to America and threatens genocide against the Jewish people. And then there's applause during the State of the Union message, and then he goes to the issue of anti-Semitism. Would you play that for us, Robert? Thanks.
We will not avert our eyes from a regime that chants death to America and threatens genocide against the Jewish people. We must never ignore the vile poison of anti-Semitism or those who spread its venomous creed. With one voice, we must confront this hatred anywhere and everywhere it occurs.
You know, I thought it was so sad. Again, a person of the left, member of the Democratic Party, Debbie Wasserman Schultz. Did you notice she rolled her eyes in that clip? And I thought, this is the president of the United States, unlike Barack Hussein Obama that continually played the race card. This is a Republican who is trying to unify the nation. He knows that the Jewish people have traditionally been members of the Democratic Party. And yet, he's talking to the Jewish people of America, and he's saying we're not going to avert our eyes to the evil of anti-Semitism. It's like I picture somebody up there in front of a crowd trying to put his arm around the Jewish people. Is that the image that comes to your mind? That's the image. I don't know how anybody rolls their eyes at that. Because to me, to talk about the horrific hatred found within Islam towards the Jewish people that's been capitalized and monetized by the country of Iran. I mean, they pay people to terrorize the Jewish people. They pay people to terrorize Americans. America, the great Satan, Israel, the little Satan. The Iranian regime, the Islamic Republic of Iran, since the Ayatollah of Khomeini came to power in 1979, which, by the way, a Democrat president, Jimmy Carter, did you know that left-wing liberals on every university campus in America, they were supporting the Ayatollah of Khomeini of Iran. He had been exiled to France, and he was living and working in France to build up this revolution. And so in 1979, after the revolution began on the streets, inside Tehran, cities inside Iran, and he made his way back into the country. And then he gave a speech to these revolutionaries on spreading Islam from one end of the earth to the other. And these leftists, these Democrats in our universities and in the halls of government like Jimmy Dunn Carter, they embraced it because they thought, oh, this is a liberal movement. This is a liberal movement of Islam, and they're realizing Islamism, not being so ignorant of the Quran and what the Holy Book says about, and what the Hadiths say about Jews and Christians, and all the verses that talk about how they need to be subdued and need to come under submission to Islamic authority. I mean, we're going back, if you go back to the history of Islam, what do you think Muhammad was busy doing on horseback? I mean, the Islamist armies were going into Eastern Europe and Western Europe, all the way to Spain, to France. They were trying to conquer these areas for Islam. It was about a holy jihad, a war. I mean, it didn't happen by accident or out of thin air that mosques were built on destroyed churches. And destroyed synagogues. These mosques were built after these synagogues and churches were absolutely destroyed. It was a sign of domination, that the people would then submit to the Islamic authority. It's what it's always been about. Representative Ilhan Omar said that she went on, of course she supported Louis Farrakhan, but she went on a radio show where the host of the radio broadcast called Israel Jewish ISIS. And yet, all over Israel, you've got Muslim Arab taxi drivers, Christian Arab taxi drivers. You've got Muslim Arabs in the halls of Israel's Congress or their Knesset. They can be elected within their districts or areas of the country and serve in the Israeli government. You've got Muslim Arabs that work as doctors and nurses and dentists and teachers, and they're all over Jerusalem. I mean, have you visited Israel? I mean, they're all over, working and living their lives along beside the Jewish people and the Christian people in Israel. And the only time there's ever a problem is when Muslim Arabs attack the Jewish people in Israel. Does anybody on the left, does Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez or Tlaib or Omar or Keith Ellison or Andre Carson, do any of these Muslim Americans ever ask themselves, let's see, when does Israel ever attack a Muslim Arab country? Let's think about that for just a minute. Oh! When that Muslim Arab country or that terrorist group or entity attacks innocent Israeli civilians or the state of Israel. That ought to be a lesson to the wise. If you don't want to be attacked, if you want Israel to be able to live in peace with you, then live in peace with Israel. Israel is not an aggressive nation state. Israel has never expanded its borders except when it's come under attack. And now I hope, I sincerely hope and pray that Israel will never give away one more inch of land, because we all know what happens when Israel gives away the promised land. She has nothing but war and strife. Israel unilaterally gave to Muslim Arab, quote-unquote, Palestinians, the entire Gaza Strip. And people in the Gaza Strip have done nothing but fire rockets and missiles into southern Israel and build tunnels in so they can go into Jewish homes and slit the throats of children. Now, Israel goes in and attacks those areas where they believe those terrorists are located or being shielded, or where they might have a missile base or a rocket factory. Absolutely, she has to, the government of Israel, like the government of the United States, has to protect innocent civilians, has to protect the nation state from attack. What's new? That's part of the rule of law within international law. nation states have the right to self-defense. That's actually considered part of the natural law tradition. We don't need that codified. We don't need that codified by some international tribunal. That's the natural law. That's part of international law, the right to self-defense. And I see the president. I'm sorry, I'm still not well, as you can see. I see the president saying, we must never ignore the vile poison of anti-Semitism or those who spread it. Or those who spread it. With one voice, we have to confront this hatred. When I heard those words, I saw a president that's putting out his arms to embrace the Jewish people and say, as the leader of this country and the free world, I and we, the United States of America, are with you. We're standing with you. We're going to help protect you. And that's as it should be. Right? Right. Israel stands with the United States. We stand with Israel. We're of the same mind. We're a democratic republic. And I think about, I get concerned when I think about President Trump's peace plan, because did you get the clip about a boss and the martyrs? Did I send that to you?
Yeah, I got that.
I want you to listen to this, people. This is the so-called president who hasn't had an election. This is the PLO, Palestinian Authority, President Mahmoud Abbas, talking about how terrorists, whether they've died or whether they've died or if they are living in prison in Israel, talking about terrorists who have to be paid. Who have to be paid. So he's saying to everyone, the salaries of our martyrs, those that have died while committing an act of terrorism, prisoners, those that have blood on their hands that are in Israeli jail, and those wounded are a red line. Israel tries to exert pressure, and they continue to exert that he, Mahmoud Abbas, the president of the Palestinian Authority, the PLO, that he's not to pay terrorists salaries, or Israel's going to withhold their taxpayer dollars and not give them taxpayer dollars. He's going to withhold, Benjamin Netanyahu, the Israeli government's going to withhold, because they don't want terrorists that are sitting in prison to be paid for acts of terrorism. That sort of goes at cross purposes for why they're in prison, right? And Israel doesn't have the death penalty, but they certainly don't want to stand by and watch them get a paycheck every month. Can you imagine the government of the United States of America paying the terrorists that tried to attack us during 9/11? The terrorists that we brought to justice here in the United States that have tried to kill Americans or who have killed Americans. Can you imagine the U.S. government paying those people a salary every month? Should Israel be paying terrorists a salary every month? Of course not. And the fact that when Egypt attacked Israel in 1967 and lost the Gaza Strip, and then, of course, under the leadership of the United States of America, Israel said, okay, we'll let it all go. I mean, the Jewish army, the Israeli army, the IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces, made it almost all the way to Cairo. But the U.S. government told Israel, don't go all the way to Cairo, but they could have. And under Jimmy Carter, Democrat, told Israel to give up the Sinai Peninsula. Israel was developing oil in the Sinai. Israel was bringing oil up out of the ground. Jimmy Carter exerted so much pressure on Menachem Begin, and the Israelis gave up the Sinai Peninsula and the opportunity to get oil out of the ground. And what is the Sinai Peninsula today but a hotbed a hotbed of Islamic terrorist groups like ISIS, like Al-Qaeda, like the Muslim Brotherhood, the Sinai Peninsula, that the Jewish people were turning into a prosperous, beautiful place where everybody could enjoy prosperity in life. Thanks to Jimmy Carter and the Democrats, it's now under the control of terrorist groups. Israel shouldn't give away 1 inch. You need to tell President Trump, we don't know what his peace efforts are going to be there, but we need to tweet out and tell the president, Israel can't give away 1 inch. Because for every inch Israel gives away, terrorists fill the vacuum and attack our most important strategic ally in the Middle East, Israel. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to the Denise Gary Show. We'll be right back after break with this clip from Mahmoud Abbas.
Trump has correctly stated that economic security is national security. And in the Tehachapi Mountains of Kern County resides a United States defense contractor, Anti-Semitism Products. Here is the Silicon Valley of the aerospace industry, right here in East Kern. Anti-Semitism Products is a forward-leaning manufacturer and distributor of hardware sold to major defense and aerospace companies. We're talking about Boeing, Lockheed Martin, United Technologies, Northrop Grumman, Raytheon General Electric, and on the list goes, as well as to every United States ally worldwide, including Israel, America's most important strategic ally in the Middle East. And for everything that flies, Anti-Semitism Products is providing the parts. And with me today is the president of Anti-Semitism Products, Scott Baker. Hi, Scott.
How you doing?
Scott, tell us why you believe this corner of Kern County is the hub of the aerospace industry.
Well, this portion of Southern California here out in the Antelope Valley, it contains, some of the most cutting-edge technology going on in aviation today. We have some of the UCAS programs with unmanned technologies going on. We have Edwards Air Force Base out here who's doing continual testing in their area. We have the Naval Weapons Station up there at China Lake doing some fantastic cutting-edge stuff, cruise missile technology, and those things are going on. We have Scale Composites locally doing a lot of composite technology, which is new. We have SpaceX, which is a private one, putting a private entity putting things into space now. This area is the growth center for aviation's future, and this is the area I think that as a nation we need to be concentrating some of our effort and taking this technology. And as we all know, with the space program from Apollo years ago, out of these technologies, we the private sector are going to reap some of the benefits of that.
Thank you, Scott. Ladies and gentlemen, Scott Baker, president of Anti-Semitism Products. Anti-Semitism Products, located in the beautiful mountains of Tehachapi, California, in eastern Kern County, is home to some of the most innovative and specialized technologies in the world, including those at the U.S. Naval Air Warfare Center, Weapons Division at China Lake, Edwards Air Force Base, as well as Strata Launch, launching satellites capable of delivering multiple orbits in a single flight to space. And it is Anti-Semitism Products that has provided the manufactured devices, and the president, Scott Baker of Anti-Semitism Products, Marine Corps veteran, reactivated on 9/11 to monitor threats to the homeland, is carrying on a tradition of providing for the security of the United States by manufacturing every kind of fastener on anything that flies, as well as providing a full testing destructive laboratory. Contact Anti-Semitism Products, now in business for 30 years, at 661-822-6873. Located at 1314 Goodrich Drive in Tehachapi for your manufacturing and testing needs today.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Denise Gary Show. Okay, I want you to see this moron, the leader of the Palestinians, Muslim Arabs that came out of Saudi Arabia and the Arabian Peninsula, Mesopotamia, which later became Iraq in the last century, Assyria, Lebanon, the Arabs, quote unquote, Palestinians, the Arab Muslims. Here's their big leader, Mahmoud Abbas, talking about how paying terrorists money is a red line with him. Let's listen.
أقولها للجميع بأن رواتب شهدائنا وأسرانا وجرحانا خط أحمر. يحاولون بكل الوسائل ويضغطون بكل الوسائل ولا زالوا يضغطون إنه هذا لا يجوز أن تدفعوه، ولو أدى إلى أن يخصموا أموالنا التي عندهم، يخصموا منها المبلغ الذي ندفعه للشهداء. قلنا هذا خط أحمر ولن نسمح منذ عام 65 إلى يومنا هذا الأمر بالنسبة لنا أمر مقدس. الشهداء وعائلاتهم مقدسون، الجرحى الأسرى كلهم يجب أن ندفع لهم، لو بقي عنا قرش واحد هو لهم وليس للأحياء.
So, ladies and gentlemen, just to recap, Israel has a law stating that the Palestinian Authority, which is just a front for the Palestine Liberation Organization, a terror outfit, that Israel law states the PA payments to terrorists and the families of dead terrorists is a financial incentive to terrorism. It's a financial incentive to other Palestinians to terrorize innocent civilians. And the law instructs the state to deduct and freeze the amount of money the PA, Palestinian Authority, pays in salaries to imprisoned terrorists and the families of these so-called martyrs who have died for Islam. So that's that. I wanted you to hear that Warsaw summit there regarding the peace and security in the Middle East that our Vice President and Secretary of State attended and actually led. We have on clip that I think's been taken down now. It's been taken down, but we got it. I saved it thinking it would be taken down. So here what's been taken down was a 25-minute YouTube clip. We've got a small section here where these Arab leaders are basically attacking Iran and defending Israel, and basically saying the Israeli-Palestinian conflict isn't really too important. The real threat is Iran. Let's go for it.
About what we feel being people from the region. We grew up talking about the Palestine-Israel dispute as the most important issue that we have to see either solved or one way or another. But then, at the later stage, we saw a bigger challenge. We saw a more toxic one. In fact, the most toxic in our modern history, which came from the Islamic Republic, from Iran. We had a dispute that we need to solve. We knew the parameters of the dispute between Israel and its neighbors, at that time including Egypt and Jordan, which eventually solved. But we saw another challenge from 1979 that came to us from Tehran, and that has no parameters, that has no boundaries, that we would wake up every day with a new challenge from them. So this is what we have faced, and actually when I talk about Iran, I have to be very careful, because Iran...
The Arab Muslim world needs to leave the state of Israel alone. Israel has a right to be there, just like other states enjoyed self-determination. The United States of America, people wanting religious freedom and the opportunity to prosper, built America because they were a people that were looking ultimately for self-determination, and we became the United States of America. Jewish people deserve self-determination. It's called Zionism. Muslim Arabs have the whole of the Middle East, and the British helped them win their freedom from another Muslim group called the Turks in World War I, the Ottoman Empire. So the Arabs have the whole bloody Middle East and their bloody borders to go with it. But Israel should be allowed to live in peace. I want to end on a positive note. The contributions, the new Israeli cancer antibiotic could be a complete cure, according to a treatment pioneered by a team of Israeli scientists. We had 5 medical breakthroughs that I want to call your attention to. For example, a machine that now allows paraplegic people to walk. This is an incredible device that was developed by a quadriplegic Israeli scientist. And it's already been featured on Time Magazine's Best Inventions of the Year list, and has been featured on television programs. Read more about it. A machine that lets paraplegic people walk. There's a procedure now based on research by Israelis in a company by the name of the Israeli company IceCure. The Israeli company IceCure. This is a group of individuals that have developed a treatment for breast tumors that freezes them into ice. It says the procedure that turns tumors into ice, and they're attempting to expand this technique into the treatment of lung cancer. Fabulous by Israeli scientists there in Israel. Another device that helps blind people navigate, it's called OrCam. OrCam harnesses the power of artificial vision to compensate for lost visual abilities. If you want to know more about OrCam, O-R, capital C-A-M, look it up. It's a sensor that sees what is in front of you and understands what information you're looking for, and provides it to you through bone conduction earpiece, through a bone conduction earpiece. The wrapping paper that heals bones, Regan Cure, R-E-G-E-N Cure, C-U-R-E, product made by Regan Cure, consists of a strong flexible membrane that can be shaped into any geometrical shape to provide containment of damaged bones. On and on it goes. Medical breakthroughs. Again, I have a file. I've run out of time for today, but I thought it was interesting too, just in closing my file on contributions, Israeli discoveries, etc. Drip irrigation. Kern County farmers right here in the Golden State bought the drip irrigation from Israel. There's additional research now that's going on to expand the ability of water-efficient drip irrigation systems. Of course, it'll be used worldwide. Thank you so much, Israel. Thank you so much to the Israeli people, to the Jewish people around the world for your contributions to all of humanity. We thank you. The Denice Gary Show stands with you. I'm thankful we finally have a president who stands with you, and we appreciate, again, all that you've done to make this world a better place. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been listening to the Denice Gary Show. We appreciate it. This is Denice, signing off.
Thank you for listening to the Denice Gary Show. Intelligent talk media.